The following program is a public access production. Comcast is required to provide time on this channel and make it available pursuant to franchise agreements with the communities we serve. Comcast is not affiliated with the following program or the producers of public access programming and is not responsible for the content. The following program does not reflect the opinions of Comcast or its affiliates.
Welcome back to Big Movie Mouth Off. We're here at Broovy Cinema Pub, our kind sponsors and hosts this week, to review one special movie this week.
Ooh. Everybody else ran away.
Everybody else ran away from this movie. By the way, I'm Jeff Ice with MSN.com.
And I'm Jimmy Martin with Slug Magazine. You can catch Big Movie Mouth Off on Xfinity Channel 6, also on their on-demand system, Utah On Demand, Salt Lake Alternative. They're just all over there. Maybe the other films will run away once we put this one in there.
Yeah, maybe. Maybe. Anyway, if you couldn't have guessed, the one movie we're reviewing this time is The Dark Knight Rises, director Chris Nolan's dark finale to his comic book vision for Batman.
Yep.
What I would arguably call as much a morality thriller as it is a superhero movie. This time, 8 years have passed since the last Batman movie. Bruce Wayne is sort of in seclusion. Batman hasn't been seen for years. When a new threat to Gotham arises, that is Bane, a hulking terrorist played by Tom Hardy.
I'm Bane.
Yes, you are Bane. You're more understandable than Bane.
That's true.
There's a storm coming.
You sound like you're looking forward to it.
I'm adaptable.
Let me start with the things I like about the movie. I've had complaints with Christian Bale as Bruce
Gotham's
Wayne
record.
and Batman all throughout the series, in particular its predecessors. Here, he brings his A game. He's a broken Bruce Wayne, and that's...
In more ways than one.
Yes, and he's vulnerable there, and he's vulnerable behind the Bat costume,
Yep.
which is, I believe, what Chris Nolan wanted him to do.
Did they kill him?
I'm not sure.
Why didn't you just kill me? Your punishment must be more severe.
Do you think he's coming back?
I don't know. Why would you run, Bane?
You should be as afraid of him as I am.
I won't bury you. I've buried enough members of the Wayne family.
You don't owe these people anymore. You've given them everything.
Not everything. Not yet.
Also terrific is Anne Hathaway as Selena Kyle, a slinky thief who is never referred to as Catwoman.
Which I like.
Yes.
Because you start giving names like that, and like it just
Yeah,
doesn't fit in Nolan's universe. You know?
Exactly. Then you call attention to the fact that there have been three other Catwomans on
Yeah.
film, and things get dicey. But Anne
Where's
Hathaway,
Michelle Pfeiffer?
for all those people who complained about her casting, shut up now. Shut up now, because you get to see she's got the chops.
Yeah, I mean, like, Anne Hathaway is great in her own, like, yeah, she's made some crap every now and then.
Right, but she's
still a
talented.
great actress. And this one, not only is she, I mean, she kicks ass in this movie. Totally kicks ass.
She's sexy, funny, smart.
And vulnerable, though.
Yes.
There are so many emotions going on through her performance. It's really well-rounded. And speaking of well-rounded, what I do like about this movie, and even just Nolan's saga in general, because that's what pretty much he's made. It's a trilogy in the sense, and
Yes.
that's so well-crafted. I love a trilogy that I can guarantee that he knew what he was going for from beginning to end. And it feels that way. You know, when the credits roll, you're like, that was perfect. You know, he knew exactly where he was going. He told the story, and I love every single one of them. I know we differ on, Batman Begins, and anything Dark Knight is one of the greatest comic book movies of all time. But this one, is it as good as Dark Knight? And the reason I'm gonna say no is because Dark Knight hit every point,
Right.
bar none, just with perfection, in my opinion. Villain-wise includes, Heath Ledger's performance. So then you kind of start comparing things here and there.
Yes.
We go to Bane and Tom Hardy. Okay, first of all, the guy's a beast, and I wouldn't say 3 words to him that would ever offend him.
No, because I'm afraid he would
and I wouldn't wake up.
Yeah. Either that, or he would say something to me, and I'd go, "I can't understand
Well,
you.
see, and that's
I
the thing.
can't understand
I'm
you."
glad you brought it up though, because no joke, throughout this film, I think I got 80% of what he was saying.
Right.
And
And-
that's a high number.
Yeah, and by the way, for those who remember when you saw the initial teasers and you couldn't understand Bane, they went back in and overdubbed his
Yeah.
his dialogue. So now
This is round 2 of trying
yeah,
to
this
fix
is
it.
round 2. And there are times that I thought he sounded like Dr. Evil now, by the way.
Yeah, yeah. Oh no, there were times when I actually I go back to Roger Corman's Fantastic Four in 1994, where you can't understand a word that Doctor Doom is saying, and I'm like, did you take tips from him? I don't know what he's saying.
Yes, exactly. So look forward to being able to understand Batman more this time.
Yeah,
But it's just
when
by
you have I'm like, I don't know, just punch him, just punch,
yeah. And then he does, and then
and
he does.
and that's some of the best parts of that film, because the fisticuffs between Batman and Bane are so hard hitting that like I started like crawling into a little ball and going like, oh god, that looks like it hurts.
By the way, let me make an Oscar prediction right now. Sound editing, it will win for those fight scenes alone because of the splintering sound of bones.
You know, I did think about awards though, for real. And I think Michael Caine for Alfred, I think he gave an amazing performance in this one. I mean, he's crying through half of it, but it's really good. And I loved him for what Tom Hardy brought to the table. That dude lifted some weights to get to be that big, buddy.
Clearly, and he has to do a lot of acting with body language and with his eyes.
For me, Bane was the right villain because we had never put Batman and Bruce Wayne up against a physical adversary, someone who could stand toe-to-toe with him in a physical sense and project a very genuine sense of physical threat that, Batman might not actually survive the conflict with this person. And Bane really presented that opportunity. And, when I thought about who could play that threatening a character using only his eyes and his voice, Tom, who I'd just worked with on Inception, seemed the natural choice. And it was very exciting when he said.
Yeah, but I go back to Bale because I liked Bale in the other ones, but this one is definitely, he brings so much of the man behind the mask.
Right.
That I enjoyed it so much for that, because the other ones you don't get a lot of Bruce Wayne.
No, he seems more invested here. And speaking of, by the way, invested, we're leaving out possibly the best performance in the film. Joseph Gordon-Levitt as a Gotham City.
He's a rookie cop.
Yep, he's a beat cop.
They keep calling him a hothead.
Yeah, he's a little bit of a hothead who sort of becomes the moral conscience of the entire film.
He does, and he's the kind of cop who is kind of putting it together. Like, he's not an idiot. He kind of figures out, like, who's the man behind the mask. And so you kind of get that whole detective aspect of it in that sense.
Yeah.
He gives it really good. I mean, Joseph Gordon-Levitt, my God, the guy's like, he can walk on water, in my opinion.
Right. So I've talked about the good. Now the bad, it felt long. It did feel long to me. It felt draggy.
For me, it was like, it's almost 3 hours. And for me, I don't think I felt as much as you, but there's moments where you're like, let's kind of get back on track a little bit.
Yeah.
I'll give you that.
Yeah, there are certain scenes that actually seemed foreshortened and ones that ran on too long for my liking.
Yeah.
And again, you hate to make the comparison because Heath Ledger could not come back to play the Joker.
And you know he would have, though, because there's a lot of references back to the old ones.
Yes, but there is sort of a hole in the center of this film that requires that sort of presence. This film needs that Joker or character who, for lack of a better word, can take the piss out of this film, which, for better or worse, takes itself deadly serious.
See, and I know we kind of conflict on the seriousness of the film, because I like that Nolan brought such a serious tone to it.
And I'm not asking
Yeah.
for him to have made the Tim Burton film or
even something like The Avengers,
or the Adam West, but there are times this film feels so heavy-handed and portentous and dire that it almost becomes laughable in that.
I never really almost got to laughing at it, but I mean, like, there are times where, in the times that we're living in right now, you could feel the very,
Yes.
the 99% against the 1%. I mean, it is so far in this film, it's almost the entire story.
Occupy Gotham.
It really is. And I can see some people kind of getting a little irritated with that, whatever. I mean, I enjoyed it for what it was. But I just think this was the best way, and like, I don't want to give any spoilers away, but the way this film ends, like, I was sitting there going, my God, like, I almost want to stand and clap. I loved it, the way this film ended. And I'm like, I don't want it to be over, you know? Yeah, it's got its problems. I think what you're saying about the whole missing with Heath Ledger, I think they actually could have filled it with more Anne Hathaway.
Yes.
Because she's got such a great story behind her and a backstory of this thief who just wants to start anew and like wants to get away from her criminal lifestyle. That's such a great story, but and they do focus on it at points, but in a 3-hour movie, not enough. So,
No.
Or they could trim some other things and put it into that. Either way, but I loved it for what it was. I had a great time with it. I really want to go see it again so I can understand more of what Bane was saying.
Yes.
I give it 3.5 stars.
And I'm just a little below you. There were things I really did like, and
Yeah.
again, I really liked Bale so much more than I have in the other films. And Anne Hathaway is terrific, as is Joseph Gordon-Levitt, who, by the way, the sky's the limit for the guy now.
Yeah, God.
He can ask for anything now from any studio and any director.
And he deserves it.
I'm saying it right now. 3 stars from me.
Awesome.
For me, which is not a. Let's make sure this is not a pan. I'm saying I liked it. I just didn't love it.
So don't attack Jeff
Yeah.
when you see him in the streets.
Or you can. I don't care. It's just my opinion. What are you gonna do?
All right. Well, there's our review of The Dark Knight Rises. We still got many more movies coming along the way, so check it out when we give them to you.